Hi, everyone. I started this channel to be able to help people that want to be able to navigate into the UN, out of the UN, and basically just manage their career paths with the United Nations. And I have here a series of questions from somebody that is trying to look into getting a consultancy. And so I thought I would just read out the questions and then answer them directly. So the first one was, just having a consultancy gig be enough to sustain myself, or would I need a second job? What you have to understand is how consultancies are usually tiered. Every organization and most organizations in the United Nations, they fall within tiers. So based on the number of years of experience and relative experience to the job that you're applying for, there is a tier. And those tiers have brackets. I don't want to be able to quote anything because at this time it depends on the agency. But essentially within each tier, you can have daily rates or monthly rates. And those are sometimes actually found online. And the question is, would it be enough to sustain myself? I mean, of course, it depends on what your lifestyle and your personal costs are. But generally speaking, a lot of the United Nations income is tax-free, which is a very important factor. But of course, please check with your country of residence and country of citizenship, because those could actually be different. So for example, in the United States or in Switzerland, you do need to pay for consultancy income. And then what ends up happening is that those costs essentially, so whatever you need to sustain yourself is typically enough. I don't think that you need a second job, but of course, again, it depends on your personal circumstance. The next question is, has anyone ever transitioned from a consultancy role to a full-time role? And the answer is absolutely yes. In fact, one of the things that helps a lot with regards to getting full-time roles, so the fixed-term contracts, is having a foot in the door. Many times, the United Nations is kind of architected to be able to be a wait-in-line system. So the longer that you're in the system, within a particular agency, even within a particular team, there's almost this culture in which the positions will eventually roll from a consultancy into a fixed term. Now, again, this changes by cultural practice of each agency, and then also the current time in which we're in, it can change with regards to what that's going to look like. But at the same time, absolutely, many consultancies can end up in fixed term contracts. And then the final question that I have is, how is UNICEF doing in terms of funding, and will they be able to hire me for a role in the team and fly me to the duty station? And I think what's important to understand is what's happening right now in the United Nations system. There have been massive funding cuts across different agencies, and UNICEF is no different. What that ends up meaning is that the agency is going to try to retain the staff that they have. They usually, what they do in order to find savings is that they abolish vacant positions. And so if you're going through the recruitment process, you may actually stop hearing from them. It may be because a position is abolished, it's paused, there's a number of things that may happen. But at the same time, they have to keep going. They still have a mandate, they still have funds in the accounts. And so many, many, many teams are actually still proceeding. And so they are still funded. They are, also taking care of certain cuts to positions across different divisions and also in the country offices. But in case there is funding, the best way to understand that is to be able to speak to the specific team, because the teams, units, divisions, they're the budget holders, and those are the people that you want to be able to speak with to get a better understanding. And so based on the funding available, that's who you want to be speaking with to understand whether they have the funds to be able to fly you out and be able to work from there. Now, having said that, that is the sort of two-dimensional answer. The additional answer is actually how you negotiate. One of the things is that you should be able to mention that being on the ground is more effective. So if you don't mind moving to the duty station, I really do recommend that you do. But at the same time, that incurs costs for the team, and those costs can be quite high. So there are a number of different ways in which you can be paid when you go in location. That means that you could be earning DSA, daily subsistence allowance. And this is a daily rate that can be paid to you for the duration of your time on the ground, whether it's 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, depending on the agency. They'll be obliged to pay this to you based on the ICSC rules. But at the same time, there are agencies that have made exceptions to this, and they've created a different rule, which is basically a reduced DSA. This is a basic calculation to say, listen, I can pay you a daily allowance, but if you were in the same place for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, 1 year, it doesn't make sense anymore for me to be paying $200, $300, $400 a day for me to keep you. I'm going to create a monthly rate, which is a greatly reduced amount. So instead of making $8,000, that $10,000 a month just in living allowance, they'll reduce this down to about 1,500, 2,000, 2,500. And so you want to be able to understand what are the rules for the duty station, and then you want to be able to see whether the team has the budget for that. And this is a question specific to UNICEF, but it actually ports over quite easily for a number of different organizations.